Hello, my name is Carly Hess, and this is my case study on the use of YSTRs in the Boston Strangler case. First off, what is a YSTR? STR, or short tandem repeats, are sections of genomic DNA that contain short repeating sequences of various lengths, according to Lee 2015. So a YSTR is a short tandem repeat that occurs on the Y chromosome, which is specific to males and passed down paternally. The Y chromosome is specific to males, making YSTR testing useful for sex determination as well as sexual assault cases in the forensic science field. Sexual assault case evidence generally has high levels of female DNA with low levels of male DNA, making YSTR testing a valuable tool. Mitochondrial DNA, often called mtDNA, is DNA that is found in the mitochondria of cells. There are several advantages to mitochondrial DNA compared to regular DNA analysis. Cells contain higher levels of mtDNA than genomic DNA, as well as more copies per cell, according to Lee 2015. Mitochondrial DNA has various uses in forensic science. mtDNA is often used to help identify missing persons, as well as help identify human remains. It is also useful in aiding the identification of mass fatality victims. On to the Boston Strangler. He was a serial killer who in the 1960s killed 13 women. From June 1962 to January of 1964, 13 women were raped and killed in the Boston area. Due to the killer using common household items to strangle his victims, after the sexual assault, he was called the Silk Stockings Murderer, which later became the Boston Strangler, according to Crime Museum. Police suspected an individual by the name of Albert DeSalvo. Police were originally investigating separate crimes of DeSalvo when he was known as the Measuring Man. In 1960, police caught DeSalvo breaking into homes, and upon arrest, he confessed to being the Measuring Man. According to Crime Museum, the Measuring Man gained access to the home of young women by posing as a modeling scout and asking interested women to get body measurements. Upon permission, he would then fondle them while taking their measurements. After serving his 18-month sentence for his crimes as the Measuring Man, he would later go on to assault 300 plus women and was referred to as the Green Man. One of his victims told police that he posed as a detective to gain access to her home, and based on her description, police knew it was DeSalvo. Upon questioning in the Green Man assaults, DeSalvo knew details about the Boston Strangler murders, and police were convinced, but they had no evidence. Seeing as these crimes took place in the 1960s, forensic DNA testing was not yet developed or accepted. Police also had no other physical evidence to tie DeSalvo to the murders, only circumstantial evidence and a false eyewitness account. Upon receiving grants to help solve cases, the city of Boston was still trying to solve the murder of Mary Sullivan, also known as the last victim of the Boston Strangler. In July 2013, police found a water bottle at a construction site that belonged to the nephew of DeSalvo, according to McPhee 2013. They compared the DNA on the water bottle to the seminal fluid recovered from Mary Sullivan's body. Police confirmed it was a familial match. After originally confessing to the murders, DeSalvo recanted his statement, and with no physical evidence, lots of doubts surrounded the case. DeSalvo was later stabbed to death in prison, and the case remained unsolved for nearly 50 years, according to Crime Museum. After the familial match, using YSTR analysis of his nephew's water bottle, police decided to exhume DeSalvo's body and compared the DNA from Mary Sullivan to that of the exhumed body, and it was determined to be a match. Had forensic DNA analysis been implemented in the 1960s, as well as the development of the CODIS database, then most of the murders could have potentially been avoided. If CODIS had been existent back then, when he was convicted for his crimes as the Measuring Man, he would have had his profile entered into the database. After that, when he was arrested for the Green Man, a CODIS hit would have generated with no need to put him into the arrestee index. Additionally, the DNA would have been identified, as well as he would have already been in the system for his crimes as the Boston Strangler.